The creation of what we have in health insurance really occurred after World War II. Prior to World War II, there was limited employer involvement. People only thought of health insurance as catastrophic health insurance. What if I get run over by a car? What if I get cancer? You didn't think of health insurance for doctor's visits, checkups, and you paid them in cash, or chickens, as the case may be if you lived in a rural community. It was primarily an individual family market with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, which were basically organizations of hospitals, organizations of doctors, who said, instead of paying me for every service, why don't you pay a fixed fee, and we'll all have access to the local Blue Cross hospital or Blue Shield organization of doctors. That all changed during World War II. What happened in World War II is we had severe wage and price controls. And during World War II, when they could see the end of the war, so sitting in the White House, by 1943-44, they said, we're going to win the war. It's a question of when we win it. Once we win the war, our biggest crisis, our biggest problem, as big as the war, will be inflation. Because during World War II, they had studied Germany post-World War I. Massive inflation caused the ruin of the German economy, led to the rise of Hitler. They were actually concerned in the U.S. that massive inflation would happen when all these boys returned home, and when that happened, our economy would totally collapse. So what they had during World War II were government-imposed wage and price controls, which were very strict. What does that mean? It means if you worked for a company, you worked every year helping the war effort, and you got a flat salary, and you couldn't get any raises. Of course, the store couldn't raise the prices of any goods, so everything seemed fixed. Who made out like a bandit? Entrepreneurs. People who were entrepreneurs who didn't have a prior price, or new military contractors who weren't making things before, made a lot of money. And so the entrepreneurs made so much money that post-World War II, meaning 1945 period, the unions are saying, we're going to have a massive general strike as soon as the war's over, because we deserve the same increase as all these small business people got. So what happened? Roosevelt, and then later implemented by Truman, came up with a plan. And the plan was temporarily, and you know how Washington is. They say, let's do this temporarily, but it becomes permanent. Well, Truman, and following Roosevelt's lead, said temporarily to employers, we won't let you raise wages, but you know what we'll do? We'll let you pick up all the health care bills for your employee. And people would come back, and people were starting to be born in hospitals, babies, instead of at home, and these were substantial bills. So we told employers, get this, you can do black market compensation. You go to jail if you pay someone and don't report it on a 1099 or a W-2 and give them wages. But you can pay all you want of their health care bills without limit, and you don't even have to report it. And we're going to stop that, but that's what we'll do in 46, 47. That's still the law today. Think of it. A company, without reporting what they spend, can give you unlimited payments for doctor bills, hospital bills, and that's the whole healthcare system we have, and doesn't have to report it. And when income taxes went up to 91, 94% for personal income tax rates above $135,000, all of a sudden, $1 in healthcare benefits is worth $7, $8 in wages. So you can see why every company said, give them healthcare, give them healthcare, give them healthcare. They get $8 in benefits after taxes, or more realistically for most workers, $3 or $4 for only $1. That caused a huge, huge advantage for employer health insurance and created the system we have today. Now, health insurance today is really not insurance. We call it health insurance, but the most important part of health insurance is access. You get access to a network that, as you know, if you're outside the network, you pay 2 to 10 times the price for a blood test or a doctor visit if you're outside the network. So the first thing when you buy health insurance, as you know, is telling your employers and employees, this is the network of doctors you get. 2, prepaid services. When you buy health insurance, you're not buying insurance. Insurance means if something bad happens, you get to spend it. Wrong. When you buy health insurance, you know up front that you're going to go to the doctor each year. You know on a lot of people they have certain services, certain conditions, annual checkups. They're going to get prepaid services. Mammograms, there's so much of that today. So you price the policy, including prepaid services. And, of course, about 40%, I really think this might be as low as 20% on some policies, is insurance. That's the insurance component. And most people don't think of it this way. They think of insurance as something, you ask someone, well, I need a lot of health care. I need $30,000 for my kid. Where do I pay my $300 to get my $30,000? That's really what health insurance is. It's almost like a huge entitlement program, most people think of it. Where do I pay my $1 to get my $10? That's not insurance. It's a rate on somebody's treasury, as we're going to cover here. So history of health insurance were the group and personal policies post-World War II. Group policies were mostly guaranteed issue, as were personal policies. The whole concept of insurance is you pay in and then you get the benefit. And of course that only works if everybody pays in when they don't need the benefit, so we have the money for those who get sick. But right away with group and personal policies, carriers were figuring out, when they were guaranteed issue, that you make the most money depending on where you advertise. In other words, you want to advertise, hey, buy health insurance from me if you're a carrier at the gym, at the health food restaurant, at the baseball games. You don't want to advertise people who play baseball, not who go to watch it. You don't want to go advertise in the bleachers of people who watch baseball and sit there and just eat all those hot dogs and trashy food. Hey, you're sick, you got diseases, come to me and pay $1 and I'll give you $100 in health benefits. So we actually learned from 1945 to 1970 with the carriers. One day you'll be my age, some of you, you'll understand and remember this, that you make your money based on where you open your store. If you're going to sell health insurance in a guaranteed issue world and you're a carrier, you want to sell it where there aren't sick people, where people are very fit and healthy. Now, if you're an agent, it's the exact opposite. If you're an agent and say, I love helping people, that's what I do really well, who do you want to find? Sick people. The more sick people you find, the more you can save them money, the more you can get them great health insurance, and they go, thank you, thank you, thank you, and maybe buy life insurance for you. But you see how in a carrier, that's the exact opposite. The personal market was very different. The personal market from 1945 to 1970 slowly became a non-guaranteed issue market. And the personal market used to cost twice the price of group. Let's stay on this point a moment. People who applied to health insurance because they got a new job, so they got a job at Macy's department store and it came with health insurance, they didn't take the job at Macy's for health insurance. They took the job for a job. Guess what? That's a healthier person than the general population. In fact, people who are not working probably often have a health care problem. That's one of the reasons they don't have a job or they don't want a job. So think of it. If you're selling personal policies, you want to sell them to people who are working, not the people who are not working. We'll come back to this later. But we learned all this from 1945 to 1970 when the world was guaranteed issue. As you're going to see in a moment, we're going back to guaranteed issue in a big way by now through 2014. Group policies had enormous tax advantages during that period. Group policies could be paid for by employers and not even reported as income or even a benefit to employees. And most of you know that. We call those POP plans or group plans that we have today. So group policies became very, very rich because of the huge tax advantages.